Places everyone. We are live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Psst, Lily, we're on!
Wait, what? You never said there'd be cameras.
Welcome to Duolingo's Duocon 2022! We're so happy you could join us, aren't we, Lily? Lily?
Over the moon.
Duolingo is passionate about the world of language. Languages are how we share our stories, how we connect as humans. Learning new languages brings us closer together. And as we all try to understand and communicate better with each other, do we need a universal language? A language everyone speaks, no matter where they're from.
A language that would let everyone talk to me? Pass.
They say math is a universal language.
Hard pass.
What about dance? Or food?
I do like food. Plus, if people are chewing, they're not talking to me.
Ooh, I know! Music!
Okay. I'm listening.
Yes, I knew I'd get you with music. We'll find out a lot more today about universal languages, along with lots of exciting news about Duolingo. First up, Ananya Rajgaria, Senior Software Engineer of Duolingo R&D, who will share the ins and outs and hows and whys of Duolingo's new design. And then, Professor Lira Boroditsky will show us how the language we speak actually shapes how we think.
Take a moment to close your eyes and think about why you started learning a language on Duolingo. What's your goal? Open your eyes and hold on to that thought. We'll return to it in a moment. My name is Ananya Rajgaria. I'm a senior software engineer at Duolingo, and I'm so excited to tell you about our new home screen redesign. When you open the app, you'll see something like this. You have the option to do some practice, learn a new skill, or even go into another tab and do a Duolingo story. Over the years, we've gathered data from millions of learners making millions of choices like this every day. We've analyzed this data to determine the best way to learn a language on Duolingo. We are so excited to share how we've channeled these learnings into our new redesigned experience. We wanted to do a better job guiding learners through our course content so that you can learn with confidence on Duolingo. We've made a few key changes here that you may notice. Firstly, there's a single path for you to follow. We've consolidated our learning features across the app into our home screen itself. And we've incorporated practice directly into the path, because even if you review past content, you're moving forward in your learning journey. Together, these features make Duolingo better for learning. Let's take a closer look at the path itself. We've kept all of our existing content and reorganized it into a single path. In this diagram, you can see how we've interspersed our existing skill content with our newly incorporated learning features, such as our popular short stories. We've then sectioned our course into smaller units for more achievable milestones. We have not and do not plan to remove practice. Practice is very important. In our path, there are 3 ways in which you'll see practice. Firstly, our skills will be repeated through the path at increasing levels of difficulty as you improve your grasp over each content. Secondly, we have a newly introduced practice level that has a personalized practice session to ensure that you are reviewing the specific content you need. Lastly, every unit will end in a review session to summarize what you've learned. You may also notice a new notebook icon in the top right-hand corner of our screen here. This is our entry point into our guidebook feature. Our guidebook is the new home for our helpful grammar tips. This will be the place where you find explanations for concepts such as gendered nouns or verb conjugations. We also have a new key phrases section that highlights relevant sentences that you can immediately apply. The new path strategically guides you through our content, and our learning experts made sure that it was backed by science. The most important methodology that we used is called spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is a strategy supported by learning science research. It means that it is more effective to space out practice than to cram. Reviewing concepts at regular intervals helps it stick better in your long-term memory. Over time, we'll increase the space between your review as you gradually get better at it. With our guided path, we ensure that spaced repetition automatically happens for you. For example, we'll first introduce a concept to you at the top of the path. Then, maybe a level or two later, we'll review it at a slightly higher difficulty. Then as you improve your grasp on the concept, we'll increase the difficulty even more, as well as the space between the review. Our learning experts and our data help us tune the optimal pattern for language learning. What does this mean for you? Our new redesign equips you with a clear path to follow. Our features make it better for learning, and it is backed by learning science. At the beginning of the presentation, I asked you to recall why you started learning a language and what your goal is. I invite you to take a minute now and share it with us in our live chat. With the newly redesigned home screen, you can be confident that with every step that you take on this path, we're getting you closer to that goal. Thank you.
Come on in and welcome to Duolingo. My name is Mark Pavic and I'm a marketing manager for the Duolingo English test team. And we're in the heart of East Liberty, one of Pittsburgh's coolest neighborhoods. There's a variety of outdoor spaces, restaurants, bars, and about 158 coffee shops. And right now we're in the Pittsburgh office, but we have a variety of offices around the globe. But let's check this one out. Duolingo was started by Luis von Ahn and Severin Hacker at Carnegie Mellon University right down the road. They had a vision to develop the best education in the world and make it universally available. That's Duolingo's mission, and it informs everything we do. Some amazing people work here. Kind, thoughtful humans who understand how powerful language and learning can be and who are creating next-gen learning. Let's meet some of them.
I'm Charlotte Chen, and I'm a product designer.
I'm Basim Baig, and I'm a senior engineering manager.
I'm Gretchen Swecker, and I lead our technical program management office.
I'm Derek Geraldowski, and I'm an animator.
I'm Xingyu Wang, and I'm a software engineer.
I'm Zaria Parvez, and I'm the social media manager.
Now you might be asking yourself, do I have to speak multiple languages to work here? Nope, not unless your specific role requires it. But many employees do speak multiple languages. It's easy to learn new languages when you're surrounded by employees from all around the globe. And the Duolingo app, of course. So what's it like to work here? Well, we have company-wide Q&A sessions with our CEO, Luis, where you can ask him just about anything. And our weekly business updates, that's called Parliament. And that's what a group of owls is called. Get it? Our meetings and conference rooms are color-coded and named for our world characters or for the languages that Duolingo teaches. We have a transparent working style, and as you can see, we all sit out in the open together.
Even Luis, our CEO, sits here. We won't want to disturb him, as he's probably working.
Okay. Let's keep moving. Duolingo encourages a healthy and sustainable lifestyle. We even offer a stipend if you walk, bike, or scooter to work. We've got a fully equipped gym and even a massage room. Okay. Well-being is really key. Every day, we have a communal chef's lunch with lots of inclusive options, and we even have special meals to mark key cultural moments. We've got tons of snacks and beverages available all day long. Mother rooms, and all gender restrooms. In short, Duolingo tries to anticipate everything you might need to make your workday better. And as important as our work is, and it is, play is important too. In addition to our game room, we have a lot of activities like sports club, craft nights, bagel club, movie nights, and even boba tea runs. And you can bring your dog to work. I get asked a lot of questions about Duolingo, but my absolute favorite is, will I get to meet Duo if I work here? Well, you just never know, but I will say, you better be careful what you wish for. All kidding aside, learning is in our DNA here at Duolingo, and we're all lifelong learners. And though we take our mission really seriously and work hard, we have fun along the way. It feels really good to make a difference because learning can and does change people's lives.
Next, Daniel Falabella, General Manager of Duolingo ABC, is going to spell out how our literacy app is better than ever and how teaching kids to read is more important than ever. Then, Sammy Siegel, Senior Software Engineer, will sum up everything great about Duolingo's exciting new math learning app. And after that, Dr. Tom Crawford, Mathematics Fellow at University of Oxford, will fill us up on some surprising facts about pi. Before you get too excited, that's pi the math concept, not pie the dessert.
Ugh.
Where are you going?
2 talks about math? We need pie. The dessert.
You're coming back, right? Right? Lily!
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about Duolingo ABC. By now, you have probably heard of Duolingo's mission, which is to develop the best education in the world and make it universally available. We at Duolingo ABC thought very hard about how we can contribute to this very important mission, and we decided to add this one word to our mission, which is to develop the best literacy education in the world and make it universally available. This is Duolingo ABC's mission. So Daniel, are you telling me that Duolingo has created a language learning app for kids? Not quite. What we have built is a literacy app, meaning we teach kids how to read in their native language. It is an app designed by literacy experts for kids ages 3 to 8 years old, and it is currently available for English speakers on iOS and Android devices. Now, why does this matter? Let me read you this first quote. Academic success as defined by high school graduation can be predicted with reasonable accuracy by knowing someone's reading skill at the end of 3rd grade. Now, I was born and raised in Guatemala, so when I hear the words 3rd grade, it means absolutely nothing to me. So to give you some context, 3rd graders are roughly 8 to 9 years old. Put this into context. You can predict an 8 or 9-year-old academic success by looking at their reading skills. Literacy matters. Early literacy matters a lot. The second data point, 60% of kids globally don't achieve minimum reading proficiency. Ouch. That's very rough. 60% of kids don't achieve minimum reading proficiency. This is one of the biggest motivators for what we're trying to do. So as we thought about how we can create an experience to help alleviate this problem, we thought about starting with kids. So let me give you some context. I have 4 kids under the age of 10. Here's my 6-year-old and my 8-year-old. And kids, as you know, are a lot of work, but they're also a lot of fun. And they live in this beautiful world with unicorns and rainbows. Everything is sparkly, and you can have all-you-can-eat ice cream and all-you-can-eat donuts. Quite frankly, it makes me very jealous that I don't get to live in this world where my daughters live. Well, when we were thinking about creating an app, we did not want to create an app that felt like taking your medicine. We wanted to create an app that was worthy to be called an app for kids. We wanted kids, when they opened the app, to think the following 3 words: this is fun. So how do you create a fun experience? We started with our cast of characters that you already know, but when they were younger. So we have Eddie and Zari and Bee, but when they were kids. As you open the app, the kids are introduced with a fun story about Duo and Fofo and how they were loading a bunch of books into this giant blimp as they were delivering those books into Duo's library. On their way, Fofo the bear cannot wait to open the door and let the books just fall. "Not yet, Fofo," says Duo. Obviously, Fofo the bear cannot wait. He opens the door and the books fall all over town. At this point, kids are tasked to help Duo and Fofo find and pick up all the books. In each building, kids are exposed to increasing levels of difficulty. As they open and enter those buildings, they are exposed to a bunch of fun challenges and books that they can read at any time. As kids collect books, they get added into their library where they can go back and read at any time. We have spent a lot of effort creating lots and lots of original, fun, effective, and safe content for kids. Kids are also exposed to a bunch of different fun games that teach us anywhere from phonics to reading comprehension. Now we have created an app that is worthy to be called an app for kids. And the world agrees. Over the past few years, we've won a lot of awards. But most importantly for us was the following question. Does it work? Are we actually teaching kids to read? To help answer this question, the Educational Development Center recruited 105 kids ages 4 to 5 years old. They tasked kids with using ABC for 9 weeks. They assessed the literacy skills of these kids before and after using Duolingo ABC. And as bloggers say online, the results will blow your mind. The first result is that kids improved their literacy scores by 28%. This is the same improvement as 2 months of kindergarten. The second result that I'm very excited about is that parents reported that kids showed more interest in reading. We create an experience that not only teaches kids to read, but teaches kids to love to read. This is a gift they can take for the rest of their lives. So we know kids love the app, and we know parents love the app because it's effective, but there's a third group of people that we notice that also love the app. Teachers. And there's a few reasons why teachers love Duolingo ABC. First off, learning the sounds and letters like M says is a huge part of early literacy learning. Learning letters and sounds take a lot of practice, and we at Duolingo know how to make learning fun. The second one is that kids are motivated to learn in different ways. So ABC gives teachers a free tool for engaging and motivating diverse learners. And I mean free. No ads, no subscription required, and completely safe. Another reason why teachers love us is that ABC takes kids step by step along a path that teaches fundamental skills in game-like lessons and stories where they can put their skills into action. Last but not least, we are aligned with Common Core standards for foundational reading. Now, as I conclude my presentation, I want to pause and acknowledge the very difficult years we have gone through. Parents and caregivers have felt this increasing pressure around their kids' education as schools have opened and closed and opened and closed again. Teachers acting like superheroes, going above and beyond helping kids all over the world. We hope that Duolingo ABC provides some of the much needed relief that you deserve. So download the app today, give it a whirl, and reach out to us through our feedback forms in the app. We would love to hear from you. I know that together we can make a difference in improving literacy rates throughout the world. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sammy Siegel. I'm a senior software engineer at Duolingo, and I'm so excited to be with you today to talk about Duolingo's newest angle, the sum of a lot of hard work. And that's our new math app. I promise I'm almost done with the math jokes, so stick with me. Most of you know Duolingo through our language products. So you might be wondering, why math? Why expand beyond language into this completely new subject? The answer is rooted in furthering our mission, to improve people's opportunities in life through accessible education. Duolingo was founded on the belief that learning languages can open doors to education and employment opportunities. And we're constantly improving our products to help our learners build and demonstrate those skills. Now, we want to double down on this progress by increasing access to high-quality education in areas where it matters most. And that's where math comes in. So why math in particular? There are a whole lot of reasons, but I'd like to start with a personal story about why I care about math and why I'm so committed to this project. Ever since I was a young child, math has always been my favorite subject. To paint the full picture, I loved math so much that I joined a logic puzzle club in elementary school with my friends so that we could do math after school just for fun. As I got older, I started to feel more isolated as one of the few women in my higher level math classes. Math started to feel more stressful than fun. Instead of learning in a safe and encouraging environment, like with my logic puzzle club mates, I started to feel the pressures of proving my place in the classroom. I likely would have dropped out of math if I didn't have a strong support network from parents and teachers telling me to keep going. Not everyone has access to this level of support, and that's exactly what motivates me to work on this app. For students like me, who needed a safe space to learn, for people with different learning preferences, and people who just need math to be a little bit more fun. I ended up studying math in college, and I now use it in my everyday life as a software engineer. So gaining confidence in math was integral to getting me onto this stage today. My personal journey touches on two barriers to math achievement: access and anxiety. We know that math skills are essential to improving one's life. Whether you decide to cite the increases in income associated with math educational performance, or the better health outcomes, or simply the joy of appreciating one of my many math jokes. But not all students have access to the math education they need. This means they may go through school feeling uncomfortable with math, which can lead to math anxiety and math avoidance throughout adulthood. How many times have you heard someone say, "I'm just not a math person"? Maybe you've said it yourself while you're calculating the tip at a restaurant and all your friends are staring at you. These are just some examples of math anxiety, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate. To give you some numbers, in a recent survey, half of US high schoolers and 20% of adults suggested they had very high math anxiety. And math anxiety can have a ripple effect between teachers and their students and parents and their children. In fact, studies show that parents with high math anxiety can negatively impact their child's math achievement, especially if they help that child with their math homework. So, it's clear that there's an urgent need to make math more accessible and fun for everyone. Lucky for us, studies also show that apps are a really great way to help. This isn't terribly surprising to us at Duolingo. Our apps have made learning a new language more approachable and enjoyable for people who may have otherwise been too intimidated to try. With motivating streaks and gamified lessons, we know how to make learning fun. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with our math app. We've been focusing on elementary level math first, so we can help students and children improve their math at a pivotal point in their education journey. And we're also working on a brain training course for older students and adults, so we can help everyone, regardless of age or background, gain more confidence in their math abilities and break that cycle of math anxiety. Now for the fun part, showing you a little bit of what we've been working on. We've assembled an all-star team of engineers, learning scientists, and designers to build an app that teaches math the Duolingo way, through bite-sized lessons with delightful and interactive exercises, plus a streak to keep me motivated and gamified features like timed lessons. Similar to our language learning app, math courses are separated into distinct units with skills that teach you new concepts and allow you to practice what you've already learned. Users can start at any unit in the course, so you can align the app with what you're learning in the classroom or focus on areas that you want more practice in. Lessons are also generated with randomized numbers, so no two lessons will be exactly the same. This allows you to replay each skill multiple times and keep learning new things. And just like our language app, concepts are learned by doing and not by watching videos. Each lesson features interactive exercises that are uniquely designed to teach the specific math concepts. There are so many exciting interactive challenges in the app, but I'd like to highlight one of my favorites. When teaching measurement, we have an exercise that asks a user to drag and rotate a ruler to measure a given line segment. This simulates an activity that I remember doing in the classroom with a physical ruler. But because everything on screen is generated dynamically with code, the possibilities are really endless. We can change the length of the ruler to teach adding piece by piece, or we can change the object that we're measuring entirely. In this example, we can ask the user to measure the width or the height of the rectangle, or we can take it a step further and ask them to measure the area or the perimeter. All of these variations help our learners better understand how ruler measurement works and keeps them engaged. This is known as embodiment in learning science. Our physical experience impacts our thinking and vice versa. That's why we have learners physically move the corners of the rectangle to produce a certain area. This helps us understand the relationships between the numbers we're seeing and the physical space they take up. Another example is our writing exercise, which utilizes some cool new technologies to recognize your handwriting for numbers and fractions. This is just some of what makes our app different from any other math app on the mobile market. The variability of the math content, plus the ability to manipulate shapes and space in our exercises, makes us stand out in terms of learning science and engineering. And of course, it wouldn't be Duolingo without Duo and the rest of our world characters lightly encouraging you to complete your math lessons. But we had to give them a bit of a mathematical transformation. For me, one of the most interesting and unexpected parts about developing this app has been the math required to actually build it. Everything you see in the app is drawn dynamically in code, so we can show you all different kinds of shapes, fractions, angles, and more. But drawing all of these required figuring out some pretty involved geometry. Math builds on itself, so understanding the core concepts that this app is teaching laid the foundation for understanding the higher level math concepts I needed to actually engineer it. I said earlier that one of our goals is to break the cycle of math anxiety. By teaching these core math concepts in a fun and inclusive environment, we're helping our learners build confidence and laying the foundation for them to reach even higher in math and education at large. But enough from me. Let's hear from Ellie. Ellie is one of our beta testers. She's a second grader who, prior to this clip, had never interacted with fractions before. And this is a video of her seeing fractions for the first time in our app.
I think you're supposed to match the pairs, whatever it is. Oh, wait, no, I think this is the answer for these two, and then you're going to put the last answer in there.
Okay, so what do you think that answer is going to be?
I think because there's 4 filled up, and there's if there was another one, then that would be 5. So I think it's this one.
Hopefully, both Ellie and I have gotten you really excited to try out the new math app. We're happy to announce that we're launching a beta version of the iOS app this summer, which can be used on iPhones and iPads and is completely 100% free. If you're interested in math brain training, or if you have a young student in your life, or you're simply just excited to try the app for yourself, you can submit your email to us at duolingo.com/math. And stay tuned for announcements about our official app launch coming later this year. Thanks for giving me a fraction of your time to go on this tangent about math. We really can't wait for you to try the app.
If we were to make contact with aliens tomorrow, what language would we use to communicate? Hi, I'm Dr. Tom Crawford, and I'm here at the University of Oxford to talk about maths. Maths is often referred to as the language of the universe, and we've been sending mathematical signals into space for over 70 years. But how universal is it? Let's take possibly the most famous mathematical object, pi. As a mathematician, I might define pi as the distance around the edge of a circle divided by the distance across the circle passing through its center. If maths is truly the language of the universe, then it would be fair to expect us to be able to use it to describe pretty much anything. And the same goes for pi. Join me as I share with you some of my favorite alternative definitions of pi, which shine a light on the truly universal nature of maths as a language. Starting with football. When taking a penalty, the aim is to kick this football from 12 yards past a goalkeeper into the net behind me. Studies have shown that on average, a goalkeeper covers a semicircular area with a radius of 2.83 meters, which looks a little something like this. Therefore, when a player is taking a penalty, they should aim outside of this diving range. To allow for some error in the shot, we actually want to position a circle in the top corner of the goal because the center of this will be the equal distance from the goalkeeper, the crossbar at the top, and the post at the side. So the question becomes, how big is this circle? So let's start by drawing a diagram of our setup. This rectangle represents our goal. Then we can add the semicircle for the diving range of our goalkeeper. And we know this has a radius equal to 2.83 meters. We also know the height of a standard goal to be 2.44 meters, and half of the width is going to be 3.66. Now we want to fit a circle in this gap. I'm going to draw it in the left. It could also be in the right. And this has an unknown radius given by r. Now what we can actually do is form a triangle by joining up the two radii and then dropping this perpendicular to the bottom. So this gives us a right-angled triangle, which allows us to use Pythagoras' theorem. So that tells us the distance along the bottom squared plus the height squared has to be equal to the diagonal distance squared. If we now expand out this equation, we get approximately r squared minus 18r plus 11 is equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation which we solve using the quadratic formula, which tells us that r is 0.65 meters. So what we need is a circle of radius 0.65 meters. This is a circle of radius 0.65 meters. So all I have to do to maximize my chance of a successful penalty kick is hit the ball through this hoop. Easy, right? I'm actually a little nervous. Oh. Oh, no. Ah. Ooh. This is the one. Oh, I knocked the hoop out of place. This really shouldn't be that hard. This one. Yes! Go! Win for maths right there. Straight through the hoop. Now we've seen me eventually hit the perfect penalty, you may be wondering what all of this has to do with pi. Now the area I was aiming for was of course a circle. And the area of a circle is equal to pi multiplied by the radius squared. So we can rearrange this expression to get the following. Pi is equal to the proportion of area for a perfect shot multiplied by the total area of the goal divided by twice the radius of the perfect placement circle squared. Our first alternative definition of pi. Next up, the Titanic and ping pong balls. Okay, so how many of these would it take to lift the Titanic from the ocean floor? A ping pong ball floats. This means its buoyancy force, the force acting upwards, is larger than its weight, which is the force pulling it down. Archimedes' principle tells us how to calculate the buoyancy force. It's equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the object. So here, that means we need to know the volume of a ping pong ball, as well as the density of the Atlantic Ocean, because this is where the Titanic is situated. Once we have those two numbers, we can calculate the total buoyancy force of a single ping pong ball, and then we just have to work out how many we need to lift the whole ship. As before, we're going to start by drawing a diagram. So this is my ping pong ball, which has a standard weight equal to 2.7 grams, and we need to calculate the buoyancy force. Now this is equal to the volume of our ping pong ball. The volume of a sphere, which is of course the shape, is 4/3 pi times the radius cubed. The radius of a standard ping pong ball is 2 centimeters, so this gives us a volume of 33.5 centimeters cubed. Now, Archimedes' principle says we multiply this by the density of the Atlantic Ocean, which on average is 1.027 grams per centimeter cubed. So our total buoyancy force is equal to 34.4 grams. Now, subtracting the weight from the buoyancy tells us that a single ping pong ball can lift 31.7 grams. Now, the Titanic weighs a lot more than 31.7 grams. In fact, it weighs exactly 4.75 times 10 to the power 10 grams. So dividing this number by 31.7 gives us our final total of 1.498 billion ping pong balls. Now, unfortunately, I can't do this with the real ship for a whole host of reasons, not least because we don't have the budget. However, I do have this 3D printed model, this rather large tank of water. So, let's sink the Titanic, shall we? Here goes. The Titanic now lies at the bottom of the tank. Using the same approach as before that we did for the real ship, I've calculated that we need 11 ping pong balls to lift the 3D printed model. Now I just need a net to hold the balls. Ta-da! If my calculations are correct, this should float. Here goes nothing. Woo! Another win for maths. Now, not only have we raised the Titanic with ping pong balls, but you may have noticed earlier when we were calculating the buoyancy force that the number pi appeared in our calculation when working out the volume of a sphere. So, once again, we can rearrange the expression to get the following. Pi is equal to 3 times the weight of the Titanic divided by 4 times the number of ping pong balls required to lift the Titanic times the density of the Atlantic Ocean times the weight of a ping pong ball times the radius of a ping pong ball cubed. Our second alternative definition of pi. For our final definition, I need to head to the kitchen. Let's go. Welcome to the Tom Rocks Maths kitchen. Now, pi isn't just a number, it's also a tasty snack. So I'm going to be baking a pie-shaped cake using this fantastic dish. And not only is my cake going to be pie-shaped, all of the ingredients are also in multiples of pi. Let's do this. The only place to start is going to be with the appropriate attire. And then I believe, yep, the first ingredient is pie eggs. I can do 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, tricky part. 0.14 of an egg. There, that's very scientifically 0.14 of an egg. What's next? 63 pi grams, 200 grams of sugar, I think. Unfortunately, my scales don't work in multiples of pi. There we go. 63 pi grams of sugar. And I think I'm supposed to add this to the eggs. It's hard work. I'd say the eggs look sufficiently whipped, so let's get the oven on. So I don't have grease-proof paper, so I'm gonna go for butter. Same thing. Trickier than a normal baking tin. Sufficiently greased. Okay, 45 pi grams of flour. Going with 140. All right, baking powder. Teaspoon? About? Small teaspoon? I'm going with that. Pi grams. Again, super accurate. I think these were supposed to be sieved, but it's gonna be a lumpy cake. My cooking skills are really coming to the fore here. I need butter, 14 pi grams, okay. Let's weigh this out first. This might be too much. Way too much. That'll do. So I do have a nice trick for melting butter. You do it in hot water. If cooking shows have taught me anything, you melt the butter in a bowl in hot water. Some excellent fluid dynamics going on in there. Starting to look like a cake. That's hot, that's hot, that's hot, that's hot. Okay, vanilla, 2 teaspoons, approximately. Oh. It's gonna be a very vanilla cake. We don't have to eat this. Come on, stuff cool. So now I am adding one set of liquids to the other set of liquids. Though I get to do it in a figure 8. I do like that, that's maths. Feels like a cake mixture. I think it's time to put it in the tin. Oh. Looks like a cake or a pie. Pie-shaped cake, pie-shaped cake. Right, let's put it in the oven. Look at that beauty. All right, time to decorate my cake. Okay, Nutella. You're not supposed to eat your own food, right? Final ingredient, whipped cream. Just look at that masterpiece. Not only have I baked a pie-shaped cake, but all of the ingredients are multiples of pi, making this our tastiest definition. Now, for our next definition of pi, I'm gonna need a chess book. All right, I guess we're just doing 3 definitions of pi, or more accurately, 3.14 definitions of pi. Thanks for watching.
We're gonna take a 20-minute intermission. We got some really fun things to show you during the break, so hang out if you can. But if you do need a break, don't worry. Duocon will be available on YouTube later today.
My name is Pamela Parks. I teach Spanish, French, and Japanese out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest at a high school named Cedar Crest. What drew me to Duolingo to begin with is the fact that it's so game-like. You know, as students walk in my door on day 1, they're like, this is language class, it's gonna be so hard. And so for me to lower this voice in their head that says, oh, this is too hard for me, I can't do it, the best way is to play games. And when the students are having fun, they're not thinking about learning, they're not thinking about, oh wait, do I need to match the adjective to the noun? They're just trying to win the game. And I know that they are getting a quality education that I have control over because of Duolingo for Schools, and I have knowledge of what it is because of Duolingo for Schools. Pause au printemps. Pause au printemps. Il ne va pas. Techniques that Duolingo employs that helps me tremendously in the classroom. Item number 1 is spaced repetition. We know from brain research how important it is to have that spaced repetition. That is, you learn something and then it starts to fade from memory and then you look at it again, and then it starts to fade from memory and you look at it again. That is really, really crucial. Having comprehensible input is also very important in language learning. You'll learn faster if you learn words connected to each other. So the Duolingo stories give us that comprehensible input. It's gonna make my students go light years ahead, the more stories I can get them to read. Before Duolingo, I had a workbook that came with my textbook, and I felt compelled to use it, even though some of the parts of it were really boring. When I got braver as a teacher and braver with Duolingo, I decided, you know what? I would much rather have the students going home and playing a game than doing the workbook. So eventually I threw the workbook out, and frankly, grading Duolingo is much easier than grading a workbook. One of the things I love about Duolingo is adaptive. If the student gets something wrong, they have to keep doing it until they get it right. Previously with the workbook, the students would turn it into me and I would grade it as fast as I could, because I know that the next important thing is that the students get feedback as close as possible to when they've actually done it. Well, Duolingo's doing all that part for me now. So Duolingo tells them, I'm sorry, it's wrong, try again. The student tries again, it gets deeper into their long-term memory. It might have taken them 7 minutes instead of 3 minutes. They got it. This might have taken them 10 minutes instead of 5 minutes. It doesn't matter, as long as they got it in the end. I know they got 100% on it. The Duolingo Educator Network is hands down the absolute best professional learning community I belong to. It's just wonderful to be able to bounce ideas off of people all over the world. I'll post an idea for, hey, I'm thinking of trying this. It just makes whatever we all come up with such more robust in the classroom. I'll end by saying that there are other language learning apps out there, and I have dabbled in all of them. But Duolingo is the one that gives me the most support as an educator. Duolingo is the one that allows a platform for me to meet other teachers around the world. Duolingo is the one that allows me to track my students. Duolingo is the one that allows me to push assignments out to my students. Duolingo is the one that makes it the most fun for my students so that they want to keep coming back to it and they want to keep using it.
こんにちは、みおと申します。今日はとても嬉しいです。よろしくお願いします。我的爱好呢是看日本动漫和了解一些日本文化，还养了一只小柴犬。我现在正在多邻国上学习日语，学日语像是打开了一个新世界的大门。 利用我的碎片化时间来学习多邻国，大概每天会使用半个小时左右。今天是我在多邻国打卡的第72天，现在我在多邻国已经闯了几十关了。我从小就看《火影忍者》，它里面的情节特别有意思，讲朋友、讲友情、讲成长、讲经历，最重要的一个词是羁绊。我会对着它的翻译一起学语言，能听懂一些自己学会和学过的单词，就会有一些小小的窃喜和一些成就感。 因为我是做广告行业的嘛，日本广告里所表达的幽默感和它深层次的洞察也好，或者是形式也好，我都会有所感受。对于一个上班族来讲，我没有固定的大块的时间去学习。多邻国呢，它能够帮助我利用好我的碎片化时间。 闯关的模式我觉得特别有意思，每一次觉得自己像升级打怪，就会有满满的成就感。它的课程设置也比较有趣，它不仅能够让你学习新的，还能在学习新的过程中帮你巩固过去的，所以对我很有帮助。希望能够把日语学通学会，有机会去拜访日本的广告公司。未来我可能想要去日本生活，想要更加的去了解这样的一个文化。
Introducing the English test designed for you. Convenient, fast, affordable, and trusted by top universities around the world. English testing no longer means paying hundreds of dollars, making appointments, traveling to the test center, and a long, stressful test experience. Now, you can certify your English online, anytime, anywhere in the world, for only $49. All you need is a computer, your ID, and 1 hour alone in a quiet room. You can take the test whenever you're ready, but be sure to follow all of the rules. The difficulty of the test adapts to each test taker, and it uses unique question types and artificial intelligence to accurately measure your English level in a fraction of the time. Each test is secured by remote proctors, AI, and computer vision technologies. You'll receive your results in 2 days, and you can instantly send them to an unlimited number of schools. Experience a better way to certify your English with the Duolingo English test.
If you put that first foot forward, you have the ability to learn a language. Me llamo Tommy Thompson y soy un jugador profesional de fútbol. Duolingo was my first real experience where I reached the point that I was comfortable enough to speak Spanish. My goal initially was to be a bridge in the locker room where the primary language was Spanish. Gracias a Duolingo, tengo la habilidad de conectar con mis compañeros de equipo de países diferentes. Me gusta usar Duolingo 15 or 20 minutos cada día. Immediately you start translating, you start finishing sentences. Te caliento la cena. So every time I would learn something in Duolingo, I would then try to apply what I learned immediately that day in the locker room.
Puedes verlo en la cara. Estaba muy nervioso.
One of the players that I've interacted with the most in Spanish actually learned English as well.
¿Qué piensas sobre el partido ayer? Muy bueno, ¿no? Was that tough game?
It's a special feeling to be able to communicate with someone in their own native language. I never thought I would be able to do it. At the end of the day, the most important thing in any language journey is that consistency, and Duo the Owl helps you out with that. I've been doing Duolingo for 3.5 years now. It still feels fresh. It keeps getting better, and that's why I keep using it. Learning Spanish is probably my proudest achievement. Y es el mejor regalo que me ha dado este deporte. Yo puedo ser un ejemplo para todo el mundo que es posible aprender.
Today on Lily's terrifying experiments in social awkwardness, it's besos. Hand on shoulder, lean in to the left, cheek to cheek, tiny air kiss. Repeat on the other side. Check locally as customs may vary. Why besos? Because I'm in Spain for our annual family vacation. Also, we are visiting my Aunt Tara, which means some kind of party. So family time, socializing, and physical greetings. All my nightmares at once.
That's why I'm here, for emotional support.
I don't have emotions.
Of course. So let's talk about these big, scary besos.
So in Spanish-speaking countries, you say hello and goodbye with kisses, like with friends or family friends, or almost anyone, but not everyone.
But it's just like little air kisses, right?
Exactly. You don't need to be me to think of all the ways it could go. Okay, it's party time. I mean, besos time. I'm so not ready for this. I'm gonna mess up in front of everyone.
Oh, it says here, some people may not want to be greeted with a kiss. I guess the custom is changing with the times.
Not helping, Zari. Now there are even more ways to mess up. What if I give a beso to someone who doesn't want one?
If you gave one, it would be a tragedy, because in Spain, you give 2 besos. It can't be one in other countries. Try not to overthink it. The simplest thing to do is to let the other person lead, like a dance. Don't forget, to be polite, you have to individually greet everyone.
Wait, everyone?
Hola a todos, me llamo Alejandro y tengo 23 años, vivo y trabajo en Pekín. 大学念的是西班牙语，语言让我交到了特别多志同道合的朋友。
It's $1.
我是从2014年开始使用多邻国的，当时年度的教育软件推荐就是多邻国，就把它下载下来了。我最近在学习的是挪威语的课程，在挪威语的学习者里面的话，我的排行应该是在第16名的位置。我大概会利用碎片化的时间，比如一次10分钟，一次15分钟这样。2年前，我在北京就找到了一个线下的语言爱好者的聚会的活动，让我建立起了我在北京的朋友圈。我的室友的话，一个是美国人，他会的繁体字比我还多。我忘了。学语言是让我交到了许多兴趣相投、有意思的朋友，让我看到了更完整的世界。多邻国最吸引我的特点就是它的语言课程比较丰富，你可以接触到几乎所有语种的课程，这对保护土著语言、保护濒危语言十分有意义。我觉得多邻国是不是也可以开发一些咱们中国方言类的课程？
for sticking around.
Did I have a choice?
You didn't. They did. But you'll all be glad you stayed, because our next speakers are amazing. First up, Linda Semensky, head of animation and scripted content on the Duolingo Studios team, will pull back the curtain for a peek behind the scenes at the stories and characters of Duolingo. And share some surprising new details about us.
Wait, what? What kind of details?
Don't worry. Nothing embarrassing. Probably.
Huh?
After that, Zaria Parvez, social media manager at Duolingo, will talk to us about a certain famous owl's obsession with a certain famous pop star and testing the limits of Legal Steve. Yeah, you guessed it. Zaria's gonna talk TikTok! Hey, that's fun to say. Talk TikTok! Talk TikTok! Hey, try it, Lily!
I'm good.
Talk TikTok! Talk TikTok! Talk TikTok!
Sorry!
Right. And then we'll meet Mei Jae Lee, an incredible choreographer from South Korea who will step us through the ways dance can create and express emotion. Oh, I can't wait for that. Okay.
Hi, I'm Linda Semensky, and I'm here today to talk to you about storytelling and character development, which are very important to us here at Duolingo. You might be wondering why. What do storytelling and character development have to do with language learning? After a career in television animation, I found myself thinking about what was next for animated storytelling. Thanks to advances in technology, animated characters are not only turning up in film and television. Many of the most popular apps and games also feature animation. For Duolingo, this means character-driven stories and funny, well-timed visual gags to enhance language learning. So apps are turning out to be the new frontier for animated characters and shorts. If you consider the start of animation on each platform throughout the history of entertainment, what helped make that animation popular turned out to be the beloved characters who premiered on those platforms. So film cartoons had Felix the Cat, Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse. TV had Hanna-Barbera characters like Fred Flintstone, Yogi Bear, Scooby-Doo. The animation renaissance of the late 1980s brought us primetime animation like The Simpsons, and cable offered us Rugrats, Doug, and Beavis and Butthead. So now, Duolingo has a world of characters and funny stories on the app, featuring Lily, Zari, Oscar, Eddie, and more. The characters at Duolingo guide you through the language you're learning, while also starring in stories about their lives and their friendships. We've long known in TV that funny stories and characters help you learn educational material better. If you're laughing, you're learning. That was something I heard all the time. And it turns out that language learning and storytelling fit together perfectly, creating an experience that is both immersive and a lot of fun. But how did Duolingo get here? Well, when we first launched stories, we saw that learners really enjoyed them. They blew through them and constantly asked for more, faster than we could write them. So to meet this demand and to write as many stories as we needed, we had to create a well-defined cast of memorable characters to write about. And having recognizable characters from one story to the next helped build an entertaining world inside Duolingo that people could connect with. So characters with more compelling personalities lead to better stories, and their quirkiness helps make the app a lot more fun. But they're also great for propelling learners through the app. As you get to know the characters and start to care about what's happening in their lives, you want to find out more about their relationships, their goals, their backgrounds, and why they do the things they do. Like, why does Lily seem so annoyed all the time? As you make your way through a Duolingo course, the language in the app begins to get more complex. And as your mastery of the language improves, the stories and the interactions between the characters get more complex as well. So not only do we offer hundreds of funny, engaging stories, they're also designed to be understandable at your current level. So that helps you feel a huge sense of accomplishment, that you're able to follow a story and get the jokes in another language. So this is all part of our goal to motivate you to keep learning and to see the rewards for all the work that you're doing. You may not even realize that as you dive deeper into the character's lore and stories, you're tackling this tougher content and learning at a higher level. So as you advance, you'll start to see new and more complex formats, such as journal entries, personal letters, or even some reviews from our characters. These different kinds of texts allow you to know the innermost thoughts of our characters, not just what they say to each other, but for example, what Lily thinks about the local performance of Romeo and Juliet. Spoiler, it's not as good as Space Viking 2. We're also working on giving our characters long-term arcs that stretch across these language levels. So we hope it'll feel like you're watching a sitcom unfold as you progress through a course. So you might see Lily and Zari sort of band, think about college. Perhaps Eddie finds himself in a real relationship that lasts longer than one date. Or maybe Oscar's art will even finally be appreciated. And we try to have all of this feature irreverent humor, relatable situations, and character archetypes that are recognizable to people everywhere. We look for stories about universal themes and relationships that exist across cultures. So we can take on the comical ways parents and their children relate through stories about Eddie and Junior. Lynn and Lucy allow us to look at intergenerational relationships and how grandparents always want the best for their slightly unmotivated grandchildren. And we go deep into the relationship of best friends Lily and Zari as they get through high school, attend parties and dances, perhaps even start a ghost hunting business. So how do we do all this? We work with a team of writers, many of whom write for other media like television. And we approach storytelling using best practices from television series development, an area I know well. We've developed what in animated TV is called a character Bible, describing the personalities of each of the characters. We make sure each character has a full set of traits, personal interests, and a unique outlook on life, as well as some real flaws. And we make sure each of the characters has clearly defined goals and motivations, and we give each one challenges that they need to overcome, some sort of roadblock that keeps them from easily achieving whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. We want our characters to be authentic, believable, and recognizable, like Lily, our introverted and unenthused teen. Now, you might know someone like that. She seems not to care about anything, but she secretly cares a lot. In fact, she cares so much that she's worried that people might make fun of her. So she tries to seem like she doesn't care at all. But one thing she cares deeply about is what her best friend Zari thinks. Now, Zari is optimistic and overachieving, and she feels things in a big way. And when you pair a snarky 16-year-old with a super enthusiastic and excitable friend, suddenly there are a lot of funny stories to tell. So we've noticed Duolingo fans getting excited about our characters' lore and piecing together their backstories. When we revealed in December's monthly challenge that the bear's name was Falstaff, many of you got really excited. And that was exciting for us too. There's more of that to come, along with lots more storytelling with our characters on the way, including animation, some of which you might be watching today. All the work we're doing on developing the characters and their backstories and arcs adds a fun element to learning on Duolingo as you work towards getting better at the languages you're learning. And we can't wait to see what's next for the Duolingo characters. They've already surprised us with the lives they've taken on in the company and with all of you. So thanks, everyone. And Lily, I hope I didn't tell our Duocon attendees too much today.
Hi, I'm Zaria, otherwise known as Duo on TikTok. Those random comments on your one video that accidentally went viral, that's me. Or that video of Duo giving birth to sponges, well, that was my chaotic brain. Back in April, I was standing on a stage, pretty similar to this one, as the youngest person in the room, accepting an award for Social Marketer of the Year, because I made an owl twerk on a conference room table. Now, many of us have seen the numbers. 4.5 million followers in just 6 months. And that's cool and all, but numbers are always boring to me anyways. I don't think they tell the real story. And the story I'm about to tell you today is the real story of Duolingo's TikTok success and how we became one of the leading brands on the platform. The story of how a $0 budget, a crusty owl suit, and a phone made Duolingo TikTok famous. I had every single odd stacked against me. In fact, at one point, I was even told that TikTok just wasn't a company priority. That wasn't gonna fly. Now, if there's one thing you take away from this talk today, I hope it's this. There is a method to the madness. Nothing is ever random, chance, overnight success. It's calculated risk. As someone who likes to be in control of every situation, I thought it might be helpful to let you know what I'll be covering today. First, we'll jump into intersectionality and how it's the golden ticket. Then, we'll talk about calculated risk, what it is and how we've defined it at Duolingo. And lastly, the road to virality, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, and really everything I've learned along the way. Cool? Cool. Let's jump in. For those of you who don't know, intersectionality is defined by the different systems of discrimination, whether that's based on your race, your age, your ethnicity, your religion, how they all intersect together to create unique dynamics, effects, and perspectives in the world. So for me, in my life, intersectionality is being a woman, it's being a person of color, and it's being a Muslim in America. Intersectionality catapulted our vision to take risks. Risks that were bold enough to make an impact, but for the most part, still on the right side of the line. I'm here today to convince you that when you have a foundation of intersectionality, whether that be in your school, your work, or wherever you are, success is inevitable. Simply put, if you want to speak and connect with a certain audience, have somebody from that audience creating the work for you. And it doesn't hurt to pay them well. Now, before I get ahead of myself, I'd love to share a story of a beautiful angel born in 1998 to two Pakistani immigrants in one of the whitest cities of America. What a lovely family photo, right? Wrong. As you can see, in a family full of doctors and engineers, I decided to be an owl on TikTok. Now, the funny thing about being a first-gen immigrant kid is we really are good at building our sense of resilience. You have to manage your parents' expectations of what they want for you, but also your own expectations of where you want to do and what's going to make you happy. So when you have strict immigrant parents, you get really good at managing some resilience. Jokes aside, the best superpower any social media manager can have is shape-shifting. And if you really think about it, anyone with a first-generation intersectional background, regardless of ethnicity, really nails down this skill. For example, one day I can be the perfect Pakistani daughter to my mom and her friends at a dinner party. And then the next day I can be in the high school lunchroom pretending my mom didn't make me Pakistani food for lunch. You see what I mean? Managing different identities at all times. So when you're trying to manage your identity, your parents' identity, what you think your identity should be, all while going through puberty, you become really good at understanding how people think, act, behave, but most importantly, perceive the world around you. And I'd argue that the hard skills of social media can be taught. You can teach someone to hold a camera, you can teach someone to comment, to trace the analytics, but the gut intuition that comes from an intersectional background of growing up with this your entire life, it's undeniable. All right, let's transition into something a little bit more fun. One of the million-dollar questions I get asked by literally everyone is, how are you not fired yet? And the short answer is, no, I'm not fired. I'm clearly on the stage talking to you. And no, I've never been threatened to be fired. But it is a legitimate question, knowing the kind of content we can put out there. But we all know to break through the noise, you need to involve risk. And that's the cornerstone of good marketing, good social, and really anything good with impact. But then that begs the question. I know I have to take risk, but how do I walk the line of, well, not getting canceled? And as someone who has been on both ends of that spectrum, I'm here today to tell you about a concept that we call calculated risk. At Duolingo, we define calculated risk as a consciously bold decision that marries intention and impact. Now, that sounds like a very jargony phrase, and the answer is, it kind of is. I'm just trying to define what goes on in my head before I hit post on a TikTok video. So in these next few slides, I'm going to explain to you the thought-by-thought discernment process of what goes on in my chaotic brain. So here's my step-to-step guide to calculated risk. First, you must ground your brand in a human truth. At Duolingo, our human truth is language learning is hard, so we make it fun. So when we're posting content, we often ask ourselves, are we having fun? Is this actually funny? Is this something we would want to engage with if we were a consumer? And if the answer is yes, we post it. And if the answer is no, it's gone. The trusty cost-benefit analysis. There is always something to gain, and there is always something to lose. Now, what's funny is that something that you guys love and enjoy externally can be absolutely despised internally. So as a social team, that's a moment where we ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And lastly, you should be ready to engage with your community. If you're going to post something bold out there, be ready to talk to them. Have your ear on the ground and see what their reaction is. That common banter you see on TikTok videos is us being ready to engage with you and see what you're feeling, what you're excited about, what maybe you don't like. And in that time, we really start to build brand love and trust with our consumers and our learners. Lastly, I want to talk to you about the road to virality. It's never a fluke, but it's often based in human truth. Now, another thing about social is that a lot of people think it's just random, arbitrary, it kind of just happens. And while I would love for us to just be able to throw spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks, that's not really how it flies out here at Duolingo. The reality is that there's actually a lot of thought and process that goes beyond our strategy. See, Duolingo's always been fun. Again, our human truth. Language learning is hard, so we make it fun. That has existed far before I even existed. My job as a social media manager was to bring that same energy you see in our app to TikTok. Learning and mastering TikTok is actually pretty similar to learning a language. The more you immerse yourself and interact with the content, the more it makes sense. So these are lessons I've learned along that road to virality and things I've learned in my 20s as I'm starting out my career very much in the public eye in front of all of you. So let's jump in. Number 1, Duo's TikTok comments are the new push notification. We all love Duo for his sassy, passive-aggressive push notifications. But last September, TikTok let us know that they now had 1 billion monthly active users. That is a lot of people. And as the businesswoman I am, the first thought that went through my head is that if 1 billion people are on their app, they're not on our app. And that wasn't going to fly. And thus, our TikTok push notification strategy was born. We wanted to bring that same passive-aggressive energy to TikTok and meet you guys where you are at. So say you have a viral video, you're scrolling along, and all of a sudden you see Duo commenting something. We only comment things that are relevant to the video. We're not going to be annoying and tell you to do your lesson because we know you're on TikTok to watch the content. So when you see our push notification, then you actually get a reminder on your own. And we saw the impact of this. A lot of people would respond to us being like, oh my God, I totally forgot to do my lesson. I'll be right back. And in fact, when we saw a viral comment, we would actually see an uptick in users. It was uncanny the impact of being authentic and human, I guess even in owl form, can have. Now, this is a lesson that's really near and dear to my heart. Be kind to each other, but hard on the work. Now, what I'm learning and what I've continued to learn as being a social media manager is the power of kindness. And I'm not saying that we can't hold each other accountable. I think accountability is important. That's where growth comes from, and that's how we become better people. But I urge you to think about when you're in the process of holding people accountable, when you're in the process of calling someone out on their mistakes, the impact of what kindness can have. Because when you're kind to each other, but hard on the work, then real change actually occurs. And that's something I've seen at Duolingo. And that's one of the secrets of why I'm not fired yet, quite honestly. I've received kindness when I messed up. I still received, hey, you gotta do better. That didn't mean that I was done and gone for. So I really urge you to think about what it means to be kind to each other, but hard on the work. Now, we've seen the numbers and the headlines. Over 4.5 million followers with over 180 million views. That is crazy. I had a $0 budget, a crusty owl suit, and an iPhone. Duolingo empowered the skill set I had growing up with an intersectional background. I was given opportunity to take risk, and not just arbitrary risk, but calculated risk. The same calculated risks I've taken my entire life as a first-gen immigrant kid. So I urge you to empower the kids with the intersectional backgrounds to think about what it means to take risk in your life, and risk that can actually lead to positive impact and a little bit fun in the world. After all, your road to success can be different and unique no matter who you are and where you come from. You got this. Thank you.
So now you're here again, knocking at my door. A little too late for, I'm sorry for. The lights went out 'cause you kept cutting the cord, and I started to fade into your gray. See, I finally opened up my eyes, and I saw me coming back to life. That I'd be better without you inside. It's time to be someone I wanna recognize. The future starts right now. I made a reservation, but you never came, so I'm checking out. The fire you stole away, I know one day we'll come back around. The future is now.
제가 실제로 이렇게 말을 잘하는 편은 아니어서 되게 몸을 오히려 쓰고 춤을 추는 방식을 저는 사실 더 좋아하는 것 같아요. 그래서 춤을 출 때 가장 나답다라고 생각이 들고 자신감이 있고 나를 표현하는 데 있어서 어떠한 형식에 얽매이지 않고 가장 자연스럽고 자유로울 수 있다라고 얘기할 수 있습니다. 저는 서울에서 태어나서 인천으로 7살에 이사를 가게 됐어요. 서울은 이제 생각하면 길이 되게 복잡하고 어려운 곳? 어렸을 때는 저한테는 그랬어요. 제가 자란 인천에서는 댄스 학원이 정말 없었어요. 서울에 가면은 조금 더 많은, 그리고 전문적으로 하는 학원들이 있다는 거를 알게 되었고, 그래서 서울 하면은 좀 더 다양하고 전문적인 그런 공간이라고 저는 어렸을 때 생각을 하고 있었어요. 아무래도 서울에는 많은 기회가 제공이 되고 또 그 기회를 얻으러 오려는 다양한 사람들이 오다 보니까 다른 이런 지방이나 작은 도시들에 비해서 좀 더 다양하게 배울 수 있고 경쟁도 또 그래서 또 치열하고 그런 부분이 있죠. 저는 생각보다 어렸을 때는 조용하고 내성적인 편이었어요. 어디 가서 나서는 거를 좋아하지 않는 편이었고, 이제 친한 친구들이랑 놀 때는 막 장난치고 까불고 이러는데 공식적인 자리에서는 되게 조용하고 묵묵히 그냥 열심히 하는 그런 아이였습니다. 제가 춤을 처음으로 시작하게 된 첫 번째 계기는 다들 한 번씩 경험했겠지만 TV에서 이제 가수들의 멋있는 뮤직비디오나 무대를 보면서 나도 따라해보고 싶다, 나도 저렇게 되고 싶다라는 생각을 한 번쯤은 다들 가져보실 수 있을 텐데, 저도 마찬가지로 그 가수분들의 춤을 보면서 나도 저렇게 춤추고 싶다라고 생각하고 집에서 이렇게 비디오를 돌려보면서 이렇게 끊어서 혼자 따라해서 추고 그랬었거든요. 제가 가장 크게 어렸을 때 영감을 받을 수 있었던 가수분은 한국의 보아입니다. 그때 뮤직비디오를 봤을 때 저도 따라하고 싶다고 생각해서 계속 돌려보고 막 뮤직비디오에서 막 바람이 머리카락이 휘날리는 게 나오거든요. 집에서 이렇게 책상 위에다가 선풍기 놔두고 선풍기 튼 다음에 저도 막 바람 맞으면서 따라하고 막 네, 그랬었어요. 어느 날 쇼트 프로그램에 나간 김연아 선수의 기사를 보게 됐어요. 그 무대가 저한테 되게 큰 영감과 전환점이 된 것 같아요. 자신감을 가지고 자기가 몸을 맡기는 그 모습을 보면서 저는 되게 큰 영감을 받았고, 우리나라를 세계를 알리진 못하더라도 내가 하고 싶은 일은 확실하게 했으면 좋겠다라는 생각을 그때 처음으로 강하게 받았습니다. 제가 춤을 전문적으로 시작하게 된 계기는 그렇게 김연아 선수를 보면서 내가 그냥 마냥 대학을 일반 공부로 아무 목적 없이 갈 게 아니라 한번 대학이 있는지 찾아보자 라고 생각해서 개인 레슨 10번을 받아서 대학에 붙을 수가 있었고 더 전문적으로 춤을 배우게 되었습니다. 다른 학교에 비해 저희 학교의 특색이 스트릿 장르와 이제 탭을 같이 배울 수 있었거든요. 그래서 대학을 졸업을 하고 학과장님이 저에게 팀에 같이 활동을 하지 않을래 권유를 해주셔서 한 3년, 4년 함께 하다가 어느 날 탭 슈즈를 신으면 발이 너무 통증이 오기 시작했을 때가 있었어요. 그때 그래서 더 이상 탭 슈즈를 신지 못하고 탭 댄스를 추면 안 되겠다라고 생각이 들어서 탭을 그만둬야 했고, 그래서 발이 아파서 춤을 추고 있지 못할 때 제가 뭔가 하고 싶은 게 뭐가 있지 했을 때 제가 어렸을 때도 또 관심이 있었던 부분이 연기를 하는 부분이었어요. 그래서 연기를 하고 싶다. 그럼 발을 쉬면서 연기를 배우자라는 생각에 연기를 배우고 있었는데 이제 그때 선생님이 저한테 얘기해 줬어요. 안무의 장르는 너가 연기를 하고 싶으면 연기를 하면서도 춤을 출 수 있는 장르다. 그러니까 너가 더 자신 있고 잘할 수 있는 춤을 연기와 함께 해봐라 라고 권유를 해줘서 저한테 그게 되게 영감이 많이 됐고, 그러면 내가 지금 이도저도 아니게 할 게 아니라 내가 더 잘하는 춤을 더 계속 이어가야겠다라고 생각을 하면서 지금 하고 있는 제 안무 스타일의 형태를 이제 처음으로 시작할 수 있게 되었어요.
5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. One more time. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5, 6, 7, 8.
우선은 제가 안무를 짜려고 할 때 어떤 것에서 시작이 되냐면 제 안에 내적 동기나 이런 에너지를 통해서 안무를 짜야겠다라는 마음이 들고, 거기에서 한 단계 발전하면 노래를 찾게 되고, 그 노래를 찾은 가사를 보게 되고, 그 다음에 그 가사를 보면서 이게 나의 상황이라면, 이게 나라면 난 어떻게 이 가사를 해석하고 의미를 부여하고 받아들일 수 있을까를 생각해 본 다음에 그 안에서 이제 움직임을 찾게 되는 것 같아요.
골반이 이때.
저는 실제로 제가 티칭을 할 때 춤은 언어를 배우는 것과도 같다라고 되게 많이 얘기를 해요. 알파벳을 우리가 외우는 건 어떠한 아이솔레이션이나 이런 리듬, 바운스, 그런 종류를 아는 것과 같고, 또 단어를 외우고 그 의미를 생각하는 거는 동작의 방법, 그리고 올바른 자세, 춤선 이런 배우는 것들을 생각을 하고, 그 다음에 그 단어들로 문장을 만드는 거는 그 동작과 어울리는 흐름을 만드는 연습을 한다라고 얘기를 하고요. 문장이나 이야기, 그런 센텐스 같은 부분에 있어서는 그게 안무가 될 수 있겠죠? 네, 그게 안무라고 했을 때 내 안무를 친구들에게 던져주지만 그 안무를 의미를 받아들이고 생각하는 건 여러분들의 자유다. 단지 저는 그 문장을 던져줄 뿐 그 안에서 자신이 생각하고 표현하고 그리고 더 다르게 하고 싶은 게 있다면 더 도전해서 해봐라 라고 항상 얘기를 하고 있어요. 많은 학생들이 저는 아직 잘 못하기 때문에 자신이 없어요. 그래서 춤을 보여주는 게 너무나 두려워요 라고 얘기를 많이 해요. 그래서 저는 그 마음을 너무 잘 알고 있어요. 잘하기 전에 보여주는 내 모습이 부끄럽고 되게 두려울 거예요. 근데 그 모습이 없으면 나중도 없다고 저는 항상 얘기를 하거든요. 좋은 모습만 보이려고 하지 말고 엉성한 모습도 즐기면서 발전돼 가는 그 과정을 더 즐겨라. 처음에는 엉성하게 할 수도 있고 바보같이 할 수도 있지만 그 안에서 너가 정말 재밌고 그걸 잘할 수 있다고 믿는다면 점점 나아갈 것이고 언젠가는 꼭 반드시 좋은 모습으로 너가 춤을 출 수 있을 거다라고 얘기를 해요. 그래서 하지 않으면, 우리가 말을 하지 않으면 아무도 알지 못하잖아요. 그런 것처럼 추지 않으면 아무것도 이루어지지 않기 때문에 해야 한다라고 얘기를 해주고 그게 배움에 있어서 가장 큰 첫 발걸음이라고 저는 생각합니다. 제가 선생님은 그렇지 않으시죠? 라고 물어본 학생들도 있는데 저는 아직도 떨리고요. 근데 이게 언제 없어지냐면 음악이 나오는 순간 저는 신기하게 그게 없어지는 편이에요. 저한테 그런 능력이 있어서 음악이 틀어지면 제가 그 음악과 하나가 되어서 뭔가 그 안에 집중할 수 있는 그런 집중력, 몰입력이 저한테 있어서 제 성격이 내성적이지만 이렇게 춤을 출 수 있는 것 중에 하나라고 생각을 하거든요. 근데 그때 저는 제가 가장 크게 살아있음을 느끼고 이 춤을 추는 동안에 뭔가 아무 생각도 하지 않고 거기에 집중해서 춤을 출 수 있다는 것에 가장 큰 매력이 발산이 되는 것 같아요. 지금 제가 모티프를 이렇게 따로 하게 된 이유는 그 당시에는 저는 제 하나만 생각했던 것 같아요. 저 스스로 오직 하나. 근데 지금은 저는 제 하나보다는 좀 더 넓게 시각을 넓혀서 저를 통해서 또 다른 댄서분들에게 좋은 경험이나 좋은 그런 일자리, 좋은 영향을 줄 수 있다면 너무 저에게는 행복한 일일 것 같아서 모티프 댄스를 만들게 되었습니다.
알죠? 그리고 한번 트라이 해보세요. 턴을 트라이 해보세요. 지금 되든 안 되든 간에 그냥 자기를 믿고 그냥 돌아라. 옆 사람만 때리지 마세요. 알겠죠? 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8.
제가 춤은 대화와도 같다고도 많이 얘기하는데요. 혼자서도 우리가 말을 할 수 있지만 사실 말을 하는 이유는 서로 대화하고 상호작용을 하기 위함이잖아요. 춤도 혼자서 막 즐길 수 있지만 우리가 같이 했을 때 더 행복하고 에너지를 낼 수 있다고 생각합니다.
Lily, get ready. Duolingo's co-founder and CEO, Luis von Ahn, is going to chat with renowned chef Jose Andres, founder of World Central Kitchen. I'm sure they'll give us some food for thought.
Did you have to?
Really? I thought that one was good. And then Luis will give the annual State of Duolingo talk. We all look forward to that. But first, and I know how much you love music, Lily, we'll visit with Grammy-winning global music superstar Angelique Kidjo! I'm so excited! Aren't you?
Yes!
Oh, are you okay?
I'm okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Luis von Ahn, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Duolingo. And the first thing I want to do is thank you all for being here with us. Everything we do is because of our learners. Now, this is the 4th year that we do our annual conference, Duocon, and it's been going great. Last year, we had some really amazing speakers, and we had over 130,000 people worldwide watch the conference the day of. And this year, of course, it's been a great conference too, and I want to thank all our speakers, but in particular, I want to thank our MCs, Lily and Zari, for having done such a great job today. Thank you, Lily and Zari. And Lily, we're almost done, I promise. Now, this year is a very special year for us. This is our 4th Duocon, but this is the 10-year anniversary of Duolingo. We launched Duolingo 10 years ago. And in the last 10 years, we've accomplished some incredible things. Duolingo is now the most popular way to learn languages in the world. And there's some really amazing statistics. For example, there are more people learning languages on Duolingo in the United States than there are people learning languages across all US high schools combined. And this is true in many different countries. Now, over the last 10 years, many things have changed. For example, our owl mascot, Duo, has really evolved to become cuter and cuter. So in 2011, poor Duo had chicken legs. Then in 2012, he looked like he was a murderer. In 2014, Duo had a little bit of an awkward teenage time. And in 2019, Duo became a lot cuter, and this is what we have now. Over the years, a lot of people have been asking us if they could get their own version of Duo, their own toy version or a plushie version of Duo. And well, since it's our 10-year anniversary, you asked and we listened. So now you can go to store.duolingo.com and get your own version of Duo. It's a very cute plushie, and you can have your own version of him. Now, many things have changed over the last 10 years, but one thing that has remained the same is our mission. Our mission is to develop the best education in the world and make it universally available. Now, what that means is that anyone, anywhere in the world can learn a language for free on Duolingo, and we're very proud to be able to allow that. One example of our mission in practice is all the work we've done with Ukraine. Since the beginning of the year, the number of people learning Ukrainian on Duolingo has increased by 500%. Now, many of these learners are learning Ukrainian to show support for the Ukrainian people. But many others are doing so because they live in countries near to Ukraine that are getting a lot of refugees. For example, in Poland, there's a lot of refugees from Ukraine that are coming in, and Polish people are learning Ukrainian to be able to communicate with them. We are very proud that we've been able to help during this humanitarian crisis. Now, it's not our intention to profit from this increased demand of people learning Ukrainian on Duolingo. So we've decided to donate all of the ad revenue from people learning Ukrainian on Duolingo to Ukraine Relief. Over the last 10 years, we have been perfecting the way that we teach with Duolingo. We call this the Duolingo method that we use for teaching. And the Duolingo method is very effective and has 5 components. The first one is on Duolingo, you learn by doing. So as opposed to having to read a bunch of grammar theory or anything like that, the way you learn is by doing. You learn by speaking, you learn by listening, by writing, by reading. And this is grounded in learning science to help your brain learn better.
Another component is adaptive learning. On Duolingo, the lessons that you take adapt to you. So if you are getting better and better really fast, the lessons get harder and harder and more sophisticated. If you are struggling a little bit, the lessons get easier and easier. So we have an adaptive learning method. The third component of the Duolingo method is that we really want to form a habit. We've realized that the hardest thing to learn a language by yourself is staying motivated. So we have made Duolingo be as fun as possible and feel as much like a game as possible. So we have bite-sized lessons. We have a lot of gamification mechanics like the streak and all the progress bars and XP, which are experience points. And all of this makes Duolingo really fun to use. Another component of the method is that we are standards aligned. The Duolingo language learning app is aligned to the Common European Framework of Reference for Learning Languages, and that ensures that you are learning the things that matter when you're learning a language. And then the fifth part of the method is that Duolingo is very delightful. When you use Duolingo, we just want you to have a smile on your face. So this is why we have all the really amazing animations on Duolingo. This is why we have our cast of characters like Lily and Zari. This is why we have haptic feedback in the app. All of this combined makes it so that Duolingo is a very delightful experience. Now, as a company, we don't always take ourselves very seriously. And this is, something that you saw. For example, Zaria gave a great talk about our TikTok account, which has millions and millions of followers. And it's because it's our owl mascot doing some pretty silly things. And this is just a reflection of how we think of ourselves as a company. Another example of our silliness as a company is our April Fool's campaign from this year. This is a play on some of the memes that have been going around our owl mascot, that if you don't do your Spanish lessons, our owl mascot is going to kidnap your family. So this year, our April Fool's campaign was this video, and I'll just let you watch it.
Has your family been taken by a corporate mascot? Were you extorted by an enormous green owl? Have you been physically or emotionally injured by Duolingo? Did you want to learn a new language but lost your streak and your loved ones? Did you receive disturbing threats such as Spanish or vanish, French or the trench, Japanese or broken knees? If you're a victim of the Duolingo owl, you're not alone. Hi, I'm Peter Francis Manchetti, attorney at law. Over the past decade, I've recovered 537 family members, friends, and precious pets from Duo. Now let me and my elite team of legal professionals at Manchetti & Sons LLC fight for you.
Learning a new language was supposed to be fun and easy. Well, if you've ever been thrown in the trunk of a car and driven across state lines by a huge green owl, you know that there's nothing fun and easy about Duolingo.
Duo took my family. Next, he took my Funko Pop collection. Manchetti & Sons brought my case to trial, and I won $2.7 million, which numbs the sting of never seeing my husband and children again.
Text or call Manchetti & Sons now at 781-STOP-OWL.
That's 781-STOP-OWL.
Manchetti & Sons, call for help right now at 781-STOP-OWL.
Now, let me talk a little bit about some product improvements that we've been making recently. Of course, the biggest one is one that you already saw in another talk at Duocon, where Ananya talked about our new home screen. We're very proud of this new home screen. It is significantly clearer to users, and also it has a lot of really delightful animations, and we are certain this is going to make learning easier and better. So this is kind of the biggest change that we've done over the last several years. We're very proud of it. Another recent change that we've been doing is we've just made the Duolingo experience a lot more social. That is, you are now able to use Duolingo a lot more with your friends. So, for example, on Duolingo now you can follow people, and people also can follow you. And if you follow somebody, you can, for example, congratulate them. So you can send them, whenever something happens, if they reach a 500-day streak, you can congratulate them. And receiving one of those congratulations from one of your friends feels really, really good and helps you keep going on Duolingo. So making Duolingo more social makes it so that people use it more and more and learn a language more and more. Another example of our social features, one that we introduced recently, is our weekly friend quest, where the idea is that you can be paired with one of your friends, and then together you have to reach a goal. You have to, for example, finish 50 lessons or finish 50 perfect lessons over the next week or something. And then if you both do, you get a reward. This is also something that gets people to use Duolingo more and more and be able to learn a language more and more, because now you feel accountable to your friend to continue learning a language. Another improvement that I want to highlight is all the work that we've been doing on our school's dashboard. If you didn't know, especially if you're an educator, we have a dashboard for teachers to use Duolingo in their classrooms. You can find it by going to schools.duolingo.com. We know that a lot of students use Duolingo in the classroom, and there's a lot of classrooms that use Duolingo. And according to our own estimates, in the United States at least, around 40% of language classrooms use Duolingo in one way or another. They sometimes use it as homework. They sometimes use it as a classroom activity. They sometimes use it as extra credit. And so, classrooms use Duolingo a lot. What Duolingo for Schools is it's a dashboard that allows teachers to track the progress of their students while they're using the standard normal Duolingo app. We've made a lot of improvements to Duolingo for Schools, and we hope that teachers really like them a lot. Another project that I want to highlight is the Duolingo English test. Many of you may not be aware of it, especially if you're in the United States, but the Duolingo English test is a standardized English proficiency exam. The idea is that you can take a test, and at the end you get a score between 0 and 160 of how well you know English. We started this project around 5 or 6 years ago for many reasons. One of the big reasons is that our own users who were learning English started sending us emails saying, hey, I'm glad that I can learn English for free on Duolingo. This is great. I wasn't able to afford learning English before, but now I have a problem. I need a certificate that proves that I know English. Could you give me a certificate? And we got enough of those emails that we decided to go and look at the English language certification market. And what we found was crazy. It turns out that literally billions of dollars every year are spent by people certifying that they know English. There's many reasons for why people take standardized English proficiency exams. For example, if you need a work visa in the UK or anywhere in the Commonwealth, you have to take a standardized English proficiency exam. If you want to apply to come to a university here in the United States or in the UK or in Australia or in Canada, you have to take a standardized English proficiency test to make sure that you speak English. We introduced the Duolingo English test about 6 years ago, and the reason we did it was because before the Duolingo English test, the way people used to certify that they know English is they had to take these standardized English proficiency exams. There's a few of them, and they're all very similar to each other. And the way they work is you have to make an appointment to take them. You have to go to a physical testing center to take the exam. You have to pay about $250 to take the exam, and then you have to wait a few more weeks to get the results. So in all, the process was taking several weeks. You had to go somewhere and you had to pay $250. The reason we thought this was crazy was because most of the people who have to take English proficiency exams live in developing countries. And in a developing country, $250, that's a month's salary. The testing centers, they're not in every city, so you have to travel to take the test. So we decided we could do a lot better. So what we decided to do was to make our own English proficiency exam, the Duolingo English test. And there are some really big innovations with it. The first one is that you don't have to go anywhere to take the test. You can take the test from your own home using a computer. So this is an online test. The second one is that as opposed to having to pay $250 to take the test, our test is only $50. So these two things combined makes it so that our test is significantly more available. For example, there are entire countries where you weren't able to take the test before because there were no testing centers, but now these people could take standardized English proficiency exams by taking the Duolingo English test. Since we launched the test about 5 years ago, we've gotten a significant number of organizations to accept the results of our test. By now, 4,200 different institutions accept the results of the Duolingo English test. This includes many, many universities. In the United States, for example, most universities that you've heard of accept the results of the Duolingo English test. Columbia and Yale and NYU and Northeastern and Duke and Stanford and MIT, almost every university that you've heard of accepts the results of this test. And in fact, if you take the top 25 universities in the United States by how many international students they have, 100% of them accept the results of the Duolingo English test. This is something that we're extremely proud of. Now, also related to our mission and related to the Duolingo English test, we're really proud that we recently announced a partnership with the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, in which we are helping refugees come to college to the United States or the UK or Canada or Australia. Refugees, of course, have a very hard time going to college. In fact, it is estimated that only 3% of refugees go to the university. We want to fix that. And one of the blockers was that, particularly for going to a university, like in the US or the UK, one of the blockers was that refugees could not take standardized English proficiency exams. But now they can, because they can take the Duolingo English test, and also we're giving fee waivers for them to take it. And we're going even a step further. We're hiring college counselors to help refugees get into universities here in the United States or in the UK. So this is something that we're very proud of too. Now, let me talk about some new courses. So recently, we launched Zulu, so now you can learn Zulu on Duolingo. And pretty soon, we're going to launch a few more. So we're about to launch Cantonese for Mandarin speakers. So if you're a speaker of Mandarin, you will now be able to learn Cantonese on Duolingo. We're about to launch English for Bengali speakers. So this is big in particular in India, so we're going to have a lot more people in India be able to learn English. So we're very excited about all of these languages. And that's it. Thank you so much for spending your time today with us and learning more about our company, and see you next year.
Well, that brings Duocon 2022 to a close. Many thanks to all of our speakers and to all of you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
I didn't not have fun. And you were right about connecting through a universal language.
Right? Math, dance, food, music. They're all ways we can come together, communicate, understand each other, and celebrate being human. Don't forget, you can watch Duocon anytime on YouTube. And now, we'll say so long. Till next time.
Ciao.
Goodbye.
Shalom.
Adios.
Thank you for coming.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Adios.
See you next year.